Hello, hello everyone. It's Karla Gordy Bristol and I welcome you to the Karla Dawn Live Show. I'm very happy to have a guest who's making a difference in the lives of many in need and also fighting to help others become aware, learn about human trafficking, sex trafficking specifically, and what they can do to make a difference and raise money that's needed, because there's so many resources, of course, that are needed to make that difference. So today with me is Meri Couley. Hello.
Hi, it's good to be here, everybody.
We're going to have some good talking going on today.
Yes.
It's going to be nice.
Yes, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and you're doing so much all over the world.
Yes, I just got back from Guatemala yesterday. We met with a government official. Things are rocking and rolling around the world, and this is all about freedom.
Yes.
And, there's a lot of people that have been enslaved through a number of things, not only human trafficking or sex trafficking, but also opioid epidemic. There's a lot of people dying of that and a number of things, crises that people are in, but we have hope today. And that's what the show is all about, hope.
It's about hope. We need hope, and love helps everything. So I want to make sure, one, of course, that you're hearing everything okay. If you're hearing the sound come through, shoot me a few hearts. That way I can guarantee that there's no issues. Occasionally things happen on set that you just, like dropping glasses. So if not, let me come in then and see if there's an issue. We cannot have a show where you can't hear about this subject. So, I guess that's a yes.
Okay, you guys give us hearts.
There we go. It takes one to be sure, because there's no other way to be clear if you're not responding. So again, thank you so much for tuning in today. We are here up in Hollywood, West Hollywood, right?
Yes, right on Sunset
Boulevard, hot, popular spot.
Hey.
We started out on the balcony. It's a great patio here, right? And
yes,
it was just the motorcycles and all were going by. We just didn't want to have that interrupt with the great dialogue, but it was so beautiful.
Well, we're right here between the Whiskey and the Roxy. A lot of people got their start here. The Whiskey A Go-Go and the Roxy, and then across from Hustler. So we're in a place called Radiance, and it's a beautiful place. People come here to there's a recording studio upstairs, a lot of recording artists, top end ones, and they have a 24/7 place that you can come here and worship God, that you can just get your groove on in the spirit, and you can hear it.
Worship and dance and all that.
Yeah.
And some music, but that's Hollywood for you. Those who aren't in the LA area, Hollywood really has a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yep, sure
I would say. And today we're going to educate everybody out there. So now you've got an event coming up at the L'Hermitage on October 12th, the Freedom Ball. And this is your first annual, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, tell me about the Freedom Ball.
Well, it's called the Freedom Ball. 50 years ago, Alveda King is the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
And Dr. King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. And Dr. King, was a voice for freedom.
Absolutely.
And he was one who stood up in the midst of a lot of people that had hatred. We don't want to focus on negative, but let me tell you, unless people are willing to stand for what truth is, and that's what Dr. King did.
Absolutely.
And he
sure
stood
did.
in the midst when it wasn't popular.
Right.
He was getting 40 death threats a day. 40.
Yeah.
He stood
But he kept marching on.
He kept on moving.
Kept on moving.
He didn't allow the fear to cause him to be this is the thing. When you stand for something and you move forth, you're going to have opposition. It's just like in a football field. I don't know, you guys like to watch football? The closer you get to the goalpost, the more you feel the opposition. And that's what I'm sensing in this.
So what made this cause you to start this Freedom Ball project?
Well, I've been doing my own show, Karla, called Now Is the Time. And I have a website, and I'm in the media, so I've been working on a movie, a biopic, for about the whole hippie movement, Jesus movement. But God, in the midst of the 60s, brought forth at the end of the 60s, after John F. Kennedy died, Bobby Kennedy died, and Martin Luther King died. At the end of the 60s, people were saying God is dead. And that's when God started breathing upon the culture, and the Jesus movement was born. And he took a hippie to literally an anti-establishment hippie to bring forth a movement with a conservative pastor named Chuck Smith. So, but yet Lonnie Frisbee had been molested at 8 years old, and he died in 1993 of AIDS. So the situation being is a lot of people have been confused and abused and refused, and I believe we're in a season, Karla, that God is going to breathe upon us, and we're just going to have this enlightenment and this light in the midst of a dark generation that is going to arise. And so one of my sayings, and other people around the world have said, don't curse the darkness, but light a candle. So the Freedom Ball is lighting a candle. We're going to be on the rooftop of the Viceroy L'Hermitage.
Yes,
which
Beverly
is a
Hills.
five-star.
Yeah.
Yes, and we're going to be on that roof, and we're going to basically come together. We've got Alveda King, who will be a keynote. We've got different people that will be there that will come together in unity, saying, you know what, we agree to stand together and not on our watch.
So how did you form doing this, though? Were you just one day decided to put this together? Do you have other organizers that you're working with?
Yes, we're working with other organizers. I've been, like I said, I produced probably almost 2,000 television programs around the world. And a lot of them have had to do, there was a thread that ran through it on trafficking, women that were abused. Not just women, young boys.
Yeah.
And so even the Lonnie Frisbee story, he was molested at 8. So seeing this injustice, there's so many people, Karla, that I have seen in my interviews that have been molested. So it was after a period of time that I did a interview at UCLA, and as I was interviewing this gal, I just felt God say to me, or the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call, I know the voice of God, and he just said, I want you to put together a series that will tell people and show people how this process happens, because it's a grooming process. It doesn't happen all at once, because like the frog in the hot water, you would immediately jump out like, oh no. But slowly, it's turned up, and before you know it, you're cooked.
So it came about, brainchild from your experiences and travels and what you were seeing happen.
Yes.
You decided, let's do this event, and you're raising money for 2 organizations that are involved.
Yes. We're here at Radiance. Sharon and Jonathan and I have founded an organization called Radiance House of Prayer, or Justice Speaks. And so I went with them last year to Thailand, and they do a lot of anti-prevention and trafficking, where they go into the northern provinces of Thailand. And they actually work with the villages to teach these young girls and boys and the families that, listen, they're very poor and impoverished. And so what happens is these people come in from Bangkok and some of these cities in the southern province, and they try to lure them in because of jobs. But often the jobs are really not jobs, but it's trafficking. But my documentary, Karla, is not so much about Thailand. It's really about America.
Documentary? No, you're doing
it's documentary in a series.
Okay.
I'm doing a 6-part series and a documentary. It's all tied in together. And we're going to go to Cannes and Vancouver and Toronto and LA, and we're going to put this out there. But it's such a pervasive and a big subject that I felt that I was given advice by people at Netflix that it's better to break it into 6-part series.
Right.
On the grooming process, on a lot of the stages of it, because it's a bigger issue than just a 60 to 90 minute documentary.
Okay. So I was asking about who you're honoring. So Radiance is one of the honorees. They're a foundation.
Well, it's Justice Speaks, and also Million Kids. Million Kids, there's a woman named Opal Singleton, and she wrote a book called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers.
Wow.
And she's often worked with, the trafficking crime force in Riverside. And she's herself like an artisan, and she was a sculptor and things. And she got to an age of retirement, and she was asked by them, "Could you help us start training people?" And she thought about it. She said, "Okay." And so she's literally, Karla, trained over 100,000, schools, people in businesses, educators, whatever, in the way trafficking looks and what to look for. Because even hotels are coming in. They said, okay, airline flight attendants.
They're at the airports. The flight attendants are stepping up. There was one in the news where she saved a young girl, I think it was, she doesn't recognize what was going on. You're right. If you give someone the information to know what to look out for, and how to speak up, and how they can make a change at that moment, because sometimes we see it and we don't know. I've seen many times people, and I just thought, that child just doesn't seem to be happy in that moment with that person, and it just doesn't seem like it's a fit. and you want to step up, but it's being educated how to go about speaking up and doing something. So that's really nice that they're doing that.
Well, and this is a situation, you guys watching, I really feel that, like, I want to show you this, that I have my phone, my smartphone down here. When you give, according to Opal, when you give your kid a smartphone, because a lot of people now, it's not saying they shouldn't, because it's a way that a child can communicate with their
It's opening a door for these predators.
She said when you give your kid a smartphone, you're literally opening them up to 3 to 5 million pedophiles that will have access to your child through video chat games. You know, this is the thing.
Yeah.
Your kids are playing video games, and you're thinking, oh, they're just playing some game. They are talking often to people in these other chat rooms, and they're like, what's your name? Who are you? They can be a 50-year-old pedophile. You do not know.
I know. It's
and
so
you think they're 14 or 13 or whatever. No. So this is the thing. They're going to start asking questions and grooming your child or teenager and getting you to think that you know them.
Right.
And so Opal told me stories about one father who he was divorced. He gave his daughter a smartphone. So I think she was 13. And he thought, okay, I'm going to be a good, father, and we're divorced, and, she's gone through some challenges, so I'm going to be a good dad.
Seems like he's doing something good. Yeah.
And so one night he heard something in his daughter's room. And he went into the room, and the window was open. And he happened to look out the window, and he saw his daughter walking down the street. And there was a car at the end of the block. Well, he jumped out the window and ran down there and got to his daughter right before she was getting ready to get into this car. This guy was a known pedophile, and he was in his 20s. I think she was 13. The issue is he was able to catch it before she was able to drive away with this guy. And so we just have to be aware. We're not trying to get you to be afraid. But the situation is, this is what happens, Karla. They're grooming them through the schools. According to Opal, which I don't really want to know this stuff. I mean, it's like, I just want to focus on happy things and whatever, but no, this is a situation. When it happens on our watch, it's according to the DA of Orange County, Tony Rackauckus, who might be at the ball. He was one of the first DAs that started recognizing that it wasn't the victims were not the women. It was really the perpetrators, the people that made these women, sucked them into this life. And many times they were seduced, they were groomed, they were brainwashed. And often on drugs. And often they were told, Karla, that if you don't do what I tell you, we know where you live and we're going to kill your family.
Which is typically what's told. And
it's sad.
I always tell my daughters, don't listen to any of that. They threaten to kill us, just keep, don't ignore it. It's all good. We'll be fine. Yeah.
But I'm saying the thing is they've already typically done something.
Oh, yeah.
And they have pictures or they have this or that.
Right, or they drug them. There's so many different things. It's really, really sad. So I looked, if you can just, so you've explained pretty much what, people kind of said, what is human trafficking? If I'm just trying to hear the word, they kind of guess what it means. What is human sex trafficking specifically? What does that mean? I have a breakdown, but I want you to kind of explain.
Well, it's when they groom, it's not just young girls, it's also boys and also women, but they groom them against their will to do things that they don't want to do. Like I have one story, we're doing this documentary called Freedom Cry. And her name's Ashley. We actually went. It was actually a success story. She has a bridal store, and she's getting married. She's 32, but at 14 years old, out of Palmdale, California, there was a tall, dark, and handsome boy that was maybe 3 to 4 years older than her. She met him at some place, a party or somewhere, but he started to tell her how beautiful she was, and he just told
said
her
all the right things that they want to hear.
He told her what she wanted to hear, and she lived in her family, had a nice family and went to school. And after 3 months, one day she said she had a headache, and now this was he took her up on a hill and said, "Hey, look at the houses. I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to give you this. I am going to be your prince." And she said that's when the nightmare began. And he gave her some date drug, and he told her, pretty much, you're going to work for me now, and if you don't, I know where you live. And so she pretty much started doing drugs and started going to these places at, maybe 2-3, hours a day. She came home, did her homework, and right under her parents' nose, she was groomed. She said, I had guns to my head. I had this, I had that. It was horrible. And one day, she said, it was a supernatural thing. She told a friend of hers, who was a Christian, And she prayed for her, and she said one day she was putting on her, leggings or, her garter belts, getting ready to go on stage. And she felt God walk into the room, and she felt the love of a father, and something broke off of her. And she was able to leave, and God supernaturally, not that it was perfect, but she was able to get out, and now 18 to 32, what is that? It's like 14 years. Now she's engaged. She has her own bridal design store. Wow. She is now speaking against this, and she's making a difference.
And she has a personal story to share.
But she's one of the people in the documentary. She will be at the Freedom Ball as well.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Will she speak?
Yes. Nice. She's going to share.
She's going to share. Oof. Some crazy stories out there, and it's, like you said, right up under our nose, But
we're right under the nose. But see, the thing about it is, Karla, the amount of money that can be made, and this is why Tony Rakakis told me personally that the average age of a victim is 12. Mm-hmm. And one girl can bring in $250,000 to her trafficker. Mm. So it's surpassing drug trafficking, because with drugs you get caught, you go to jail. With a girl, often she can be seduced into saying, oh, well, no, he's my boyfriend, or, they get indoctrinated. Mm. And so the situation is that these people are in fear. They often are running for their lives. Oftentimes it's a foster care. Mm-hmm. At 18, they have nowhere to go.
Exactly. A big problem. There are organizations that focus just on that demographic right there.
They have nowhere to go. They also, it's runaways. They come to Hollywood. They come out looking for fame, stardom. Right. And they got the people looking for them.
They prey on those.
They prey on them. And also, it's just normal girls that, on the internet, guys will look to say, okay, send me a selfie, send me a naked picture. Mm-hmm. And they want to see if they'll do it. They want to see how far they'll go.
They can push them, what they'll do.
And then when they do send it, then they blackmail them with it. So this is the issue. Girls, get smart. When somebody starts telling you how beautiful you are, just say thank you and walk away.
That's right.
You don't need to, you're smarter than that. You know what? You don't need to have some man tell you how beautiful you are. You're beautiful. And you know what? That's what, you don't need to have a man try to tell you that. Yeah, if somebody who truly loves you eventually, let them tell you that. But you don't need to have somebody do that. Just say thank you and walk away.
That's right.
And then you have that esteem that you don't need to have somebody else give you that, assurance. You know in your heart, if God created you, that God has created you for this reason, that you are chosen by Him.
And it's about self-confidence. They have to have the self-confidence. My mother and I have an organization, Friends of Fuller Gordy, and we're honoring Little Miss African American Scholarship Pageant. And that's their motto. They're young girls. They're in that demographic going into it. And they're learning now at like 9, 10 years old about being self-confident, believing in themselves, knowing what they can and cannot do, not having to rely or feel like they're not going to be validated, So I think that's definitely going to put them
How
in a
old are
position.
these girls?
They're 9, 10, 11,
That's the age.
Some
right
8, 9,
12.
10, 8, 9, 10, right in there. 11. And so it's a great time to catch them before they enter this stage. So they'll be very educated and aware. So Lisa Ruffin runs that organization, and we're happy to be honoring her. But this has brought something new that I'm going to ask her about to see if, this is something on her mind too, to educate them about this. You have to really speak up. People want to keep it quiet sometimes, but you got to speak to the kids about it at a very young age and let them know what to look out for in the signs. So,
they have to know.
Yeah, so it's really good that you're doing that. What is the government really doing, to make a difference here? What kind of bills have been passed, or what are the laws here?
Well, Donald Trump, I know, we are in LA here. I mean, a lot of people don't like Trump. It doesn't really matter if you like Trump or not. This is the situation that Trump has basically made a huge difference with the trafficking issue. He passed an executive order against trafficking at the end of 2017. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of people.
What does the bill say? What is it? What is the bill?
It just talks about, it's an emergency bill, like talking about how much sex trafficking
to help fund, so the government is funding.
It's helping, but it's also busting these organizations. There was Backpage, and that literally they shut down. Literally,
I remember hearing about that.
Hundreds of ads. People, it was almost like a pornography site. You could get a girl faster than you could get a pizza. Mm-hmm. And if you go to my website, it's mericrowley.com, MERICROULEY.com. I've interviewed many people about trafficking, one of them being Liz Crokin. She was a White House press correspondent, as well as she worked for Hard News, the Chicago Tribune, as well as for Us Magazine and even the Enquirer. She said, whether you believe it or not, Enquirer did break some major stories, like the John Edwards love child and different things like that.
They got a few right.
Yeah, so I mean, but she did like good and bad. It was just media. But she told me that, listen, the mainstream media is part of the problem, and a lot of the swamp, so to speak, is being drained. And there is stuff that's being exposed. So she said probably a third of Congress are involved somehow with this. And listen, I could talk to you about stories that would go into it that it's not like they're necessarily involved in it, but they have dirt on them. And so they don't want to speak because there's things that they know.
Well, look at Brett Kavanaugh. You know, he's got now 3 accusers saying that, you know, he committed these sex crimes against them, sexual assault, and yet that's being pushed forward on, you know, fast track. I just think that it should be looked into.
But that's allegations.
I know it's an allegation, but there's 3 women speaking up, and now there's more, you know, justification supposedly of their stories and that people that they've shared with over the years, not just at this moment. But I just feel like that is a prime example of a government that is not really focusing on a potential issue, where in some years in past they will react. So I don't know. I think it's anything that deals with sex assault with a politician, or, you know, any crime of any sort that could have been happening as alleged. I think they need to look into it. So
I think they do, but the Me Too generation, there has to be. I mean, some of this stuff is 30 years old. See, anybody can say that somebody did something to them.
That's anything in life. Anybody could say anything. I could just say someone, you know, hit my car downstairs and they did. I mean, you know, but I think it should be looked into. That's
I do, but I also think that somebody, I don't want to see their reputation destroyed, because there's agendas on both sides, and this is the issue. We're in a country that is freedom of speech. It's the First Amendment. And we want to make sure people have that freedom, but let's not have freedom at the hands of people just saying it because they want their agenda furthered. Right now that we are looking at a demographic of a group of people that are being abused, and they're doing it because of money. And so it's become, according to the DA of Orange County, since 2016, sex trafficking has grown over 36%. I mean, that is an incredible demographic. It's almost 40%.
Well, that's why I think we need to do more. That's why that's why I asked the question about the government, because the numbers are just too high for this bill that, you know, our president pushed, but the numbers are still astronomically high. It's not obviously making enough of a difference. There is some impact. It's shut down some organizations possibly, but I just see it being a dramatic issue, and I don't know across the country in each state, specifically those that are highest affected. California is on that list. That's probably the number one area for human trafficking. So I just feel like, you know, what kind of funding specifically being done here to make that difference and shut it down, and educating people. I don't hear about it.
Well, and I think it's really not, I mean, I think the government is involved, but I think we, the people, that's what the Constitution said, we, the people, we need to stand up and step up and make the voice. And really, it's an issue of the heart. If there was no demand, there would be no supply. So God told me, I mean, you know, like, I know this is a normal show, we're spiritual beings, and if we don't have a heart connect, if we don't realize, like, listen, when you traffic a girl who's 12, 13, this is an issue, this is a human rights violation.
Absolutely.
I mean, these girls are, you know, below 18. They're not even of a consensual age.
Right.
And for monetary standpoint, so you're dealing with a culture that is shifting because of money. And so, you know, the love of money is the root of all evil.
All evil. Absolutely. All evil. Anything that has an issue, you can know it comes down to money. So I want to just give a few statistics that I pulled up on this, and you correct me, some you may have mentioned already that I did a little checking on. So in 2016, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children estimated that 1 in 6 endangered runaways reported to them were likely sex trafficking victims. That's some high numbers. Globally, the International Labor Organization organization estimates that there are 4.5 million people trapped in forced sexual exploitation globally. Average lifespan of a victim is reportedly to be 7 years. They end up being found dead from the attack, abuse, HIV, or other STDs, and malnutrition, or overdose, and even suicide. So a lot of the high rise in suicide that we're having could possibly be part of the sex trafficking, because the numbers are so astronomically high, and we're seeing so many kids at a young age commit suicide, and people go, what happened? And they were having trouble. Well, maybe they became, a victim to somebody, and there's a Netflix show about this now, and it really hits on that same subject. So they need support. People have to look for the signs. They need to know what to look for. What can you tell people right now, just general, average mother and father in their house, some of the signs they can look for in a child?
Well, according to Opal, she said if you see somebody in your child's life that's trying to buy them things, let's take them like, oh, I've got somebody taking me to Disneyland, or I'm going to have my nails done, or that somebody's taking a role in your child's life, that there's these bottom girls in schools that they're looking for girls, young girls or boys that are very vulnerable, and they exploit them. There was actually Jada Pinkett Smith. I remember kind of going through this phase just a few years ago. I was like Googling everything I could about it, because you're like going down this rabbit hole. You're going like, oh my God.
You had me Googling, I had to check it out because...
I was like, OMG. And so Jada Pinkett Smith was saying her daughter came home, from school in LA and said, Mom, there's trafficking right in our area. And she said, oh, no way. And all of a sudden she started watching and hearing and listening and started realizing. So in this documentary that they put on through Discovery, they had a story about a girl who was an African-American gal, not that attractive, but, she wasn't ugly, but she was a little bit heavy, and somebody that was probably a senior started talking to her, befriending her, and introduced her to a man who owned a barber shop. And little by little, it's like this man started telling her how beautiful she was, and so on and so forth. Well, eventually, she started becoming intimate with this man. And eventually, this man started telling her, well, you know what? My friend Larry is having a bad day. Will you just kind of be with him tonight, just to kind of make him feel better? And so, okay. And before she knew it, it was like 20 men a day. And this girl was like seduced and groomed and into being a prostitute. Just because, they know how to do it.
They know what they're doing.
They know what they're doing.
They know how to fit on that, tap into that emotion into the kids where they can manipulate them.
And so once they got them, and now our culture is so like the Me Too, like taking selfies and putting this. And so it's really, be careful about who your kids are, with on the internet. Like I said, growing up, when I grew up, there was no such things as, we didn't have cell phones.
That's right. We didn't have issues, but you're right. You're accessing.
But nowadays, you see little 2-year-olds. everybody is on.
They're on it.
Yeah. We're such a soundbite society. We're so inundated with our, sound bites. Yeah. So I think I would say be very careful getting your kid a smartphone. I wouldn't get it to them too early. I would be careful, monitor to them as to how often they could be on it. Restrict them, and don't let them sit there and play video games for hours and hours.
Yeah, and put some blocks on it. There's some security blocks you can put. I had a show a few months back with a cybersecurity expert, and if you guys want to go back on my website and look at that, it'll help educate you on a lot of the signs on the internet to look for, and how to block things, and how to protect yourself on the internet. Because you're right.
There was one story too. All of this can happen even at the mall, or one of the girls that Opal was telling me about, Opal Singleton, who will be at the actual ball. That's one of the benefactors of the Freedom Ball. They have 1 million kids. It's a website that they literally have 1 million kids that they're looking for that have been abducted in the United States.
And the majority of them probably are caught up in sex trafficking. They could be taken to other countries as well.
Yeah, true. And so she was talking about how one of the ladies whose daughter was trafficked, they just got in a fight. Her daughter went down to the park to blow off some steam and was sitting there on a bench, and a woman was sitting there, and they started talking, and this woman became a listening ear to this daughter. And after an hour of listening and nodding and probably, oh, that's whatever, do you want to have lunch with me? Well, she said, sure. She got into the car with this woman. And all of a sudden, 2 guys get into the back seat. and she was taken off into an area that, this girl was violated, victimized. They eventually got her, but back.
They got her back and she told the story. Yeah.
But it wasn't pretty. And this was not your typical. Like I said, it can happen in a mall. It can happen through a cell phone. It can happen in a video chat game. We just have to be careful that when you hear these people, they say who they are, they could totally be somebody that's not who they are.
Right.
And so you need to train your children that, be very careful of who you talk to, because they might not be who they say they are.
That's true. That's so true. Everybody should adhere to that. If you have children out there, I hope you're being really smart and sharp about it. And you're right, the average age, according to the U.S. statistics, is 12 to 14.
Yeah,
12 to 14. That's who they're looking for. And you got to really watch it. And like you say, runaway girls can just be mad at their parents and want to blow off steam. Before you know it, they're caught up. So they got to really be careful. How can people stop this beyond educating their kids? I mean, it's such a wildflower epidemic that people don't realize how big it is. But how can that be stopped, really? I mean, it's a money thing.
Well, I think the key has to do with the men. I really felt, I had this saying that came to me that said, I have not called men to be pimps, pirates, or pawns, but to be princes and kings. And this is why with Martin Luther King, not that he was perfect, but if men will just be men and will stand up and say, there's such a huge gateway from pornography to sex trafficking. Because the girls that I've interviewed on my TV show have told me, men come in and said, I want you to do this. And they show them a video. And so what happens is, the eye gate is a gateway. And so men, if there was no demand, there'd be no supply.
Right.
So,
well, sex is the biggest money making industry out there all around the board.
But this is the thing where, men of honor, that men of passion, that I believe that you're better than this, and that men are going to rise up and they're going to say, not on my watch.
So you think that to draw this, I don't even know the end, but at least to diminish the numbers dramatically, we need more men to step up.
You need to focus on the men.
Yes.
And not to berate them or to say you're bad, but to say you're better than this.
Okay, you mean the men that are actually
just any
crimes.
men.
I meant just men that, are not doing a part of this, but they care and don't want to see this happen. I think the voice of more men should step up and just show that they want to make a difference and make a change, and maybe they need to speak out against people and not turn their head. Because I think a lot of it is they just turn their head. They know what their counterpart male friends are doing.
Well, and a lot of women are looking for fathers. A lot of men are looking for fathers.
The statistics on single-family homes is so high, so you're right.
I think they're looking for a father, and I think if men will be willing, and women too, be mentors, listen, just be there, educate, but, excuse me, not get into fear.
Right.
We can't fear this. We just have to tackle it where just educate, because with the internet, with everything that has changed so quickly, I mean, just think, the cell phone only came out, 20-something years ago?
I know. But look at the impact.
Look at the data.
Look at the impact.
Now everybody has a smartphone. I just got back from Guatemala, and everybody is like on their phone all the time.
It's a global thing. That's why we can access, the world is all connected now in a way that we never were.
True.
You don't have to travel across the country overseas to get to someone in another country. You can do it all from your laptop, all from your cell phone.
Yeah.
And end up getting them on the plane and to you still sitting at home. I mean, it's that easy. Like you said, you can just order it up like a menu. And, it's such a bad issue. I really have been passionate about it when I hear stories, because I have 2 daughters. I mean, they're much older than this age here now. Thank God they've made it through that phase. But all of us adults also are victims at any age. So we all have to be aware and not take things for granted. Yeah.
And don't let anybody try to fear. Like if a lot of times they will intimidate. Like, if you do this, then I will do that. We'll always be able to share and be able to speak up and be able to have that dialogue between parent and child.
Absolutely.
That is the communication.
Yeah.
And if people feel that they can say anything to their mom and dad and tell them, but that's where, we have to have listening ears, and we have to have time. Like, often you'll be at the table and you'll see people just texting and they're not even
communicating.
Take the phone and let them not even bring it to the table. Have people communicate.
I know. My daughter did. Actually, I'm a victim. My daughter did it. We went out to a dinner together just to have some time. And I was in the middle of some business transactions. And so my phone kept going off. And I looked, she goes, Mom, I came here to spend time with you. Put the phone down. And then I was like, you're right. One more, darling. I put it away.
Yeah.
But you gotta make an effort. And you have to really pay attention because it's such a habitual thing that it does take that aha moment. But yeah.
Well, like you look at like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it's like, it's so seducing because like I was just in Guatemala, I put some, I got 200 likes on that one. It's
I know, right?
we're like, they like me. They really like me. It's
validation. It's the self-confidence. There's lack of it. And
it's like addictive because it's like people want to know how many people like that, how many people saw it.
Absolutely.
And so we have to get out of this demographic that it's all about me.
I agree totally.
And just change it to like, what can we do to change it and make a difference? And all of you watching, you can make a difference.
Yes.
You have been given a God-given creation in your own heart to do something great. And don't just let life, pass you by. Take hold of the horn and just go for it.
Right.
Write a book, go out there, do something, get involved, help kids, mentor kids.
Everybody has a voice, everybody has a story, everybody has some kind of a passion they should go for. But I think also a lot of these charities that are working to create confidence or help youth, maybe they can come together more and interact. Instead of everybody being so independent of each other with their mission, find maybe once a year, all come together and create that larger power impact on things such as this issue we're talking about, the sex trafficking, and building confidence, and I don't know, maybe a global convention where they all come together. I'm thinking, the charitable global convention. I'm creating stuff. I'm always brainstorming, but something like that needs to happen, I think, to really make the impact, because it's okay in small numbers. There's power in numbers. Yeah. Everything you do, and I just think they need to come together because this is something that is so embedded. Got its claws into the system. It's going to take something like that to crack it. But what you're doing, your part is so great. And this Freedom Ball, I think people that have any interest in making a difference and helping others should try to make sure they get their tickets on the web. Where should they go on the website?
Well, the Freedom Ball, it's October 12th. It is a Friday night because Dr. King wants to be home for her service on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So it's a Friday evening at the L'Hermitage Hotel in Beverly Hills. I have an invitation here. It's
pretty.
The Freedom Ball.
Mm-hmm. The gold and black.
Yeah, the gold and black, October 12th, 6 to 9 at the Viceroy L'Hermitage. It's a 5-star boutique hotel, but it's 9291 Burton Way in Beverly Hills. We're going to have a red carpet from 6 to 6:45, and it's a 3-course meal, and also Dr. King will be speaking, as well as we'll have some music and a silent auction. And we have an incredible artist that's going to be painting a portrait of Dr. King. We're going to be auctioning that off. And just it's going to be a fun night.
Awesome.
But it's $175 for the ticket, which, it's really not for a 5-star hotel for a 3-course meal.
No, I think it's great.
It's a good meal.
So and supporting to organizations.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they can go, if you want to buy, it's on my website, which it's MeriCrowley.com, but it's spelled MeriCrowley.com, or Eventbrite. You can go under Freedom Ball. It's going to be $11 more on Eventbrite because they have their fees, but Freedom Ball on Eventbrite, or go to my website, MeriCrowley.com. But it's just a little over 2 weeks away. So, we're running out of tickets. We would love to have you there, or some of you are business people and want to help sponsor. We do have sponsor packages that you can send.
Well, they can go on the website and get all the information.
Yeah, MeriCrowley.com. There's email me.
Do that, and then also the money goes to help with this documentary you referred to earlier, the Freedom Cry.
Yeah, it's a 6-part series and a documentary. Yeah,
so it'll help toward that as well. So I like the title. That's good. So I thank everybody for watching. I hope everything came through, and that you share this message, and that you go to the website, get more information about this important issue that we all need to address. And it's too rampant in California specifically. And I think Texas is the other state. I had them written here, right?
Yeah, Texas.
California and Texas and New York. California, Texas, New York have the highest numbers of sex trafficking. So if you're in any of those states, I'm sure there are many organizations specifically there that would love to have your support and help Meri as well. Thank you so much for watching. I would like to give a shout out to Ava Hart and the Ava's Heart Foundation. The Heroes Ball is tomorrow. I am a board member of that, and the big gala is at the hotel in Hollywood, the Science Center. Taglian Center is the name of it. At 6 o'clock, red carpet. So if you want to get your tickets, you can go to avasheart.org. I am handling all the red carpet and interviews, and have Martin Cadillac is one of the sponsors that I brought in, and Karla Gordy Family Foundation. So we thank them for their support and hope to see you there. Go to my website and my Facebook page for any further information on shows, and make someone smile today. We all need it. You can make a difference in the lives of all, including those that are having issues that may prevent them from going into sex trafficking.
Yes.
You know, and spread love and kindness. Thank you so much for watching Karla Dawn Live. I'll see you next Wednesday at 5:30.
Yes, good to be here. Thanks for having
so good.
me.
I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing this great information. Yes. It was really nice.
Yeah, love you guys. You're awesome. We can make a difference. Yay. Amen.
Oops.
Oh.